already admitted to doing this like 5 times. Yeah, dang right, I did it. I mean, imagine a trial at the end of A Few Good Men where Jack Nicklaus says, "You're dang right, I did." And they said, "Wait a second here. Let's actually ask him again the second time to see if it happened." He said he did it again. Okay, let's ask him a third time. Oh, he did. Oh, now we have evidence of him. We got a video of him actually doing it. At any point you want to actually, arrest the guy and charge him, you knock yourself out because, this is a kind of this is what they call an open and shutter. This is kind of a piece of cake. So we'll talk to him about that. Mike McEntee. That Mike McEntee.
Who?
Yes. That Mike McEntee. Well, he's supposed to join us. I don't know if he's going to be able to make it over here. And traffic is a beast today, man, in the metro. But he is, pestering us, still wanting to hang out with the cool kids. That's apparently what he wants to do. He is, How Love Won. That's his movie that he did. He's got a special screening on the 10th anniversary of that movie being out. June 7th is when that is. So it's, basically we're going to talk to him about that as, it's obviously an important movie. And especially in this day and age, it's amazing to see what that did as a stepping stone for Minnesota, especially in the light of, as Pride Month begins, of what we're seeing elsewhere. And I got a lot of things I got to get to today in regards to that. Like I said, we'll chat with him coming up here in a little bit. First of all, if I can, I want to start off with, by the way, I want to start off with one thing, which is kind of interesting. So I have heard from multiple friends that if you are to take a driver's test in Minnesota, well, first of all, Brett, I don't know if you're aware of this. It is still very difficult to find an open spot to take a driver's test. They're still trying to play catch up from back in the pandemic.
Wow, that's insane that it's still that backed up.
Give you an idea. My daughter yesterday had to go out to Glencoe to take her driver's test. We do not live in Glencoe. We live in the metro. But a nice little scoot out 212. Nothing wrong with that. Like I said, 4 Mexican restaurants in town. They got to be doing something right there. So it's she was able to get out there and get her driver's test. I have heard from people that if you're a metro area kid and you go to one of these rural areas, that it's basically almost a guaranteed fail, that they're looking for reasons to fail you. Ha ha, take that metro area. I actually could not come away further from the truth. My daughter took the test yesterday, and apparently it was relatively easy. Now, one of the things that helped is apparently there are no one-way streets in Glencoe. So that real head scratcher kind of came off the board pretty quick.
That might be the way to go for future driving tests.
Not the worst idea, man. You know what the most confusing thing about Glencoe is you've been on 212 there. You can't take a lot of those roads. You can't take an intersection and go like to what would be to the east. You have to go down the west and then do a U-turn back onto the east lanes. They do that down on 169 at times too. Especially get down towards St. Peter and stuff. You get down there, they basically don't have an actual intersection there. You just have to, you do it. You see it a lot of times up on US 53 too, that to get to the southbound lanes, you have to go to the northbound lanes, northbound to the southbound. And so you get that's something that you get there. It's a little tricky, but overall it's a kind of a piece of cake. And she had a real easy time there. I'm not saying that she didn't have it. She said it was a legit driver's test. She got points taken off because she did not pull into the parking spot correctly. We worked so hard with her on parallel parking that we actually didn't really do that much with her and actually parking in a parking spot. And she, square peg round holded that sucker. So nicely done. Dad, she in the spot. Oh, thank you. My princess. No, she'll kill me. No, she is a little off kilter there. And I think there was, And one of these things that you get only on a driver's test do you get gigged for this. Apparently, she did not get into the left turn lane early enough. She got into it. There was no other traffic there. It's Glencoe. So, she should have gotten into that lane earlier. And those were the only two things she lost points on. But everything else went great. So thank you, Glencoe. I appreciate it. Welcome aboard, my friends. So I don't know. I mean, I think it's an individual thing where I have zero doubt there are probably some kids who went out there and turned the engine key on and I'm sorry, you failed. You know, that I have zero doubt. I mean, that stuff happens. But from my experience, Glencoe, I'm not saying the test was a piece of cake, but the whole, we passed and didn't seem like it was actually any heavy lifting. And it wasn't like it was the first one of the day or the last one of the day. It was the midday we got in there. So have you heard any? I mean, where did you take your driver's test?
Oh gosh, probably Eden Prairie, where I grew up, would be my best guess, but I don't remember. It's been so long ago.
I was up off of 494 south of 55. Was that Fernbrook up there? They've got that driver's course
you're
there.
kind of jogging my memory. I think I might have actually been in Plymouth. Not that one though, but I think more towards like the 169 side. It's jogging my memory now. Yeah.
No, well, it's that one. I took it there. My son took his there, and it was a little confusing to say the least, because that's almost designed to be a little bit tricky. They it kind of roads going in 1,000 different directions. And a lot of 20 feet and it's a one way, 20 feet past that it's a four way, unregulated, that sort of thing. So they're trying, they're trying to trick you a little bit. I think my oldest daughter was down Shakopee, might have been down in Shakopee. That was where her test was, and piece of cake. It was a road test, piece of cake. So no issues there. And then Glencoe, I had no problems there. So I've been Metro, I've been out. They all passed the first time. I know there are some kids out there that, they've got like a punch card like it's a subway. It's like, we'll go for good old number 6 here. Let's see what happens.
I got the feeling this probably depends more on who's administering the test, like the actual person that's in the car with you. It might be more dependent on that than the location, whether it's rural or
it's human beings. Yeah. I mean, human beings have good days and bad days. And, it's, if you're lucky enough to be there when the driver has just met the love of their life, guess what? Cha-ching, you're going through. If it's the day that they've broken up with the love of their life, uh-oh. Why didn't you get in that left lane earlier? I said. Hopefully that's not your kid. All right. Hopefully that's your kid's got the happy day guy or something. Anyway, just dispelling that myth. I'd heard that from a few people, and I'm like, I'm going to disagree with you wholeheartedly. And once again, big salute to Glencoe. 952-946-6205. 952-946-6205. We got another bill into law. Yo, homeboys and girls. Yeah, whatever. $2.6 billion infrastructure bill has been signed into law. Funny story. There are some unions who were going crazy, gaga, goofy for that pipeline when they wanted to build line 3 up there, talking about jobs. Well, this bill puts that to shame. I mean, this is going to be a jobs bill of epic proportion. I haven't heard a lot of press releases of positivity from those unions. It almost makes me wonder if they're more political, sort of thing. I don't know. Anyway, if you're for jobs, this bill, boom, and it's going to be a lot of good stuff that's going to get fixed. This infrastructure bill, this is from Governor Walz. This infrastructure bill is about making life safer and easier for Minnesotans and delivering on the most basic things that government should provide: reliable roads, clean drinking water, and sound infrastructure to support safe, healthy communities. With this investment, we are going to rebuild our roads and bridges, repair fire stations and water treatment plants, upgrade our veterans' homes, fish hatcheries, and flood mitigation systems, all while creating good-paying jobs for Minnesotans. This is how we put a down payment on the future of our state. Agreed. I couldn't agree more. And by the way, this is one of those bills that a reminder, as Republicans scream about, they're spending all the money. Almost every single Republican has, well, but this project's good. I mean, this DFL, you need to get out into every one of these districts. And if the Republican in that district voted against this bill, that should be a billboard outside of your town in all directions going into the town, especially wherever that project is. If it's a water treatment plant, especially around that, saying the DFL voted for this, your Republican legislator didn't. Remember that. If it's the lead pipe stuff, the DFL are taking care of your lead pipes in your streets. The Republicans voted against this. I think you got to do that. From clean drinking water to strong community centers for safe housing, I'm thrilled by the progress and prosperity held by this infrastructure package, said Lieutenant Governor Flanagan. The $2.6 billion infrastructure bill will help pay for hundreds of infrastructure projects that will create good-paying jobs, including, in part of the bill, $403 million for transportation infrastructure, including local roads and bridges, $500 million for water infrastructure projects. That's mainly like the water treatment facilities. $78 million for the Hastings Veterans Home, $20 million for the Waterville Fish Hatchery, $72 million for a bus rapid transit, $72 million for public housing rehabilitation, over $120 million for community-based organizations and nonprofits. And it is going to be a substantial, and I do mean a substantial jobs bill that is going to give a lot of people a lot of work for many, many years. And that's one thing that at the end of the day, the Republicans, this is why the DFL, you got to hone this message better. One of the things, like I talked about the legalized marijuana bill, and you see all the new jobs and businesses it creates. That's a jobs bill, man. This is undeniably a jobs bill. And it's jobs out in the both cases, in the marijuana bill and in this infrastructure bill. These are jobs out in rural Minnesota. Every city on the border of Iowa, the Dakotas, even in Wisconsin. Guess what? You're going to be able to put a dispensary when we legalize marijuana here. You'll have a dispensary here, and guess who's going to be coming in? All the people from across that border. They're going to be coming on in here to get legal dope. And that's money for your community. That's jobs for your community. When, the Waterville, and I mentioned this, I believe in the Waterville Fish Hatchery, both the House and the Senate leaders in that district, which are Republicans, both voted against it. That's local jobs. That is fixing the fishery, the fish hatchery, and long-term jobs. Like I said, you need to start hammering away on these guys, because do not wait until September of next year for your strongly worded memo. No, get out there, billboards. You see this project? Thank you, DFL. Boom. Boom. Across the state. 952-946-6205, 952-946-6205. Let's take a break. I do want to give a chance to go to the Reformer. They actually had a really nice breakdown of the tax bill, and I want to make sure I talk about that. Schechter coming up here in about 15 minutes as well. 952-946-6205. It's the Matt McNeil Show on AM 950.
Hi, I'm Rachel Shamblat. My dad is Dr. Scott Shamblat from Shamblat Family Dentistry. A lot of people are afraid of the dentist, but you don't have to be. My dad makes going to the dentist comfortable and even fun. He won't be mad if you haven't seen a dentist in a long time. He just wants to take care of you and your teeth. If you don't see my dad, please see another dentist. Take care of your teeth, because they're the only ones you get.
Shamblat Family Dentistry in Hopkins and St. Paul. Find them online at shamblatfamilydentistry.com or call 1-800-FIX-MY-TEETH.
Since when are houses disposable?
I know. About half of what's in landfills are building materials that could be reused or recycled.
For the sake of the environment, this has got to stop.
There is money available to help Hennepin County residents and their contractors do the right thing. Reuse and recycle the building materials. You could earn $400 per ton for materials saved on a partial deconstruction of your next remodeling project, and up to $9,000 for a full deconstruction in Hennepin County.
Fixtures and cabinets?
All the way down to stair treads and 2x4s.
Flooring?
We floor you all day long, sister. Materials are sold at Better Futures Reuse Warehouse at 2620 Minnehaha Avenue in Minneapolis.
Don't demolish, deconstruct. Do the right thing, get money back. You nailed it, brother.
That's D-nailed it. Wouldn't want to poke an eye out.
Check out betterfuturesminnesota.com. That's betterfuturesminnesota.com. And don't forget to shop the Reuse Warehouse.
This is Elizabeth, the host of Exploring Sovereignty with Elizabeth. Each week, our show explores higher consciousness and pathways to freedom with heart-centered thought leaders. We shine a light on your brilliance, what you pay attention to, and how that has supported your process of becoming free from the heavier issues that affect you. There are many pathways to sovereignty. Join us each week as we explore your sovereignty and consider what's your pathway to becoming free. That's Exploring Sovereignty with Elizabeth, Sundays at 11 a.m. or anytime on your favorite podcast app.
AM 950, the progressive voice of Minnesota. It's the Matt McNeil Show. 952-946-6205. 952-946-6205 is the phone number. Once again, we have had so many different things to talk about this session here. Sometimes a lot of the times I haven't really been able to break down the specifics of some of these bills. And I wanted to take some quick time here to go over the tax bill. $3 billion tax bill, one of the 2023 session's landmark pieces of legislation. Within the bill, there's also $1 billion in tax increases, not included in the new taxes tucked into the other budgets, like the metro area sales tax increases for housing and transportation. Governor Walz signed the tax bill into law. He commended lawmakers for using the state's $17.5 billion surplus to further his goal of making Minnesota the best state to raise a family. Rebate checks for 2.5 million Minnesotans, although they are smaller than what Walz proposed. Minnesotans who lived in the state for at least part of 2021 filed a Minnesota tax return, a property tax refund, and are below a certain income threshold will receive a check. Single taxpayers who made up to $75,000 will receive a $260 check. Married joint filers receive a $520 check, but that's up to $150,000 in income. The families with children within these income thresholds will receive an extra $260 per child with a maximum of 3. There's no hard ceiling on the payments, meaning Minnesotans who made $1 over the threshold are ineligible for any cash. Department of Revenue said the rebate checks will be sent out in early fall. Residents who file the tax returns and provided banking information will see the money deposited into their bank accounts. I should mention, it's, hey, Republicans, I know you're upset about this. So when you do get that check, if you really want to stick it to the DFL, rip that check up. Yeah. That will show them. Yeah, just and film it and put it on TikTok of you ripping up the rebate check saying, I'm not going to take this check from the DFL. Oh, God. You probably don't want to do that. But still, I mean, how many people? I'm going to get at least someone's going to do that.
Oh, I bet that'll be on Twitter.
Did you see the idiot that was looking at a fountain and saw the rainbow through the fountain because the water was hitting the sun and it was reflected? And they said, that never happened 10 years ago. What's happened to the water that now it's gay? Like, oh my God.
That can't be, that's got to be like a mock video, right?
No, it's actually real.
It's real. Okay,
it's real. In Seattle. It never used to do that. What are you talking about? Unbelievable. I can see it. It's going to show you guys rippity. Honey, do you have tape?
You know what they'll do? They'll do the electronic deposit first, then they'll burn it and say, look what I'm doing to send a message.
Oh, God.
If anyone does that, I bet that's what they actually did.
Walz did originally propose $1,000 for individual filers, $2,000 for married joint, but the smaller checks because the legislature were, that was their call earlier this session. We had a $17.5 billion surplus. Minnesotans were expecting that to go back to their pockets, said Minority Leader Mark Johnson, as once again he wants to ignore the fact that how many infrastructure jobs just went across the board here because of that money. How many jobs? Jobs. These guys, what really upsets Republicans is not the fact of anything else outside of the money was designated for that 0.001 uber wealthy Minnesotans. The executives for the biggest corporations, their biggest donors, who was going to get the $17.5 billion. The fact that we are going to get it, the vast majority of the people are going to get this money, infuriates them. And it's delicious. It is delicious. Despite the smaller rebate checks, lawmakers touted the tax bill's aim to reduce childhood poverty, where a recent estimate at Columbia University found that the legislature's child tax credit would reduce childhood poverty in Minnesota by a third. The tax bill includes a child tax credit and a working family credit, which is aimed at low-income families. The size of each depends on the income. A full child tax credit is $1,750 per child, which begins to phase out for married filers who make $35,000 annually and $29,500 for single taxpayers. This is actually one of the best things I've seen these guys pass, because this is truly a tax break for the poorest people. And it's a substantial one, too. It is substantial. According to the legislators' nonpartisan staff, there are a few examples of the amounts and income phase-outs for the child and working family tax credits. Married parents with one child under 18, maximum combined child and working family credit is $2,100. Minimum credit is $1,750. Begins to phase out at $3,500. Fully phased out at $52,500. Married parents with two children under 18. The maximum combined child working family tax credit is $3,850. Minimum credit is $3,500. Begins to phase out at $3,500 and phased out fully at $67,000. Single parent with one child begins to phase out $47,000. Single parent, or it's fully phased out at $47,000. Begins to phase out at $35,000. Single parent with two children under 18. It begins to phase out at $35,000 and fully phased out at $61,000. Minnesota's household median income is more than $77,000, which means the big working family and child tax credits, both phasing out well below the median, are an effort to redistribute the wealth. The reformer wrote it as redistribute the wealth. How about we just call it what it is? Hey, we finally gave a freaking tax cut to the poor, as opposed to every freaking tax cut since 1980 going to the wealthy. We gave a tax cut to the poor, and I guarantee you that money is going to trickle up far more than the money we gave the wealthy people trickles down. It will, hands down. Unbelievable. That's a good one. 3/4 of Minnesotans who receive Social Security benefits will now pay no state income tax on them benefits. I had one guy come get mad at me. He said, "The Social Security still have to pay." I said, 75% don't have to pay it at all. Well, but what about the wealthy? What about the wealthy? Couples with an annual income up to $100,000 would be exempt from the state Social Security benefits. Phased out exemption for married filers who make up to $140,000. Republicans and Democrats all session pushed for a full Social Security tax exemptions, but the plan calls for the wealthiest Minnesotans to keep paying state tax on their benefits as well. Like I said, there's some other things in the bill. I don't have time to get into them really quick here, but it really is a solid tax bill that, want to know the truth, delivers for the middle and lower class. This is why it's so odd, and this is why Republicans are freaking out. No, if you look at tax cuts and tax bills that we have passed in Minnesota and federally, something like 80% of the money that goes back to the people goes to like 1% of the population. The vast majority of this goes back to when Pawlenty was in office, and I came up with the term Funyuns and Yoo-hoo, that the Republican tax cuts give you Funyuns and Yoo-hoo money. Give you, here's $8, and they act like they gave you $1 million. And when you say, hey, I need more help, they say, well, we gave you the $8. Did you just waste it? That was them. This one, you really are helping out the lower class. And once again, I do joke you not. The trickle up from this tax break for the lower class specifically will be far more substantial to our economy than the trickle down is from the wealthy, because the vast majority of the money they get back when it comes to a tax cut doesn't go to buy anything. It just goes into retirement accounts so their great grandkid can sit on a beach and drink Cristal. That's what. So this is a really good deal. Dynamo Dave, I'm not going to have time to get to you this hour. I got Schechter coming on it here. Let's take a break. Come on back with Cliff Schechter, 952-946-6205. It is the Matt McNeil Show right here on AM 950.
Hi, I'm Peter Solak.
And I'm Adam Ostrowski.
We are here at Woodland Stoves and Fireplaces to talk about the joy of live fire cooking. Cooking over a live fire is the oldest and most basic form of cooking.
What's new is in the way fire is handled and its heat is managed.
It's easier to experience and enjoy the smell and taste of food cooked over a live fire.
Woodland Stoves and Fireplaces sells and installs live fire grills, fire pits, and ovens. Let us help you experience the smell, the taste, the fun of cooking with fire.
Pizza was first made and is still best made in an open fire oven. The radiant and conductive heat of a live fire is unmatched for wood roasting and baking artisan breads too.
Come see the many ways you can cook over a live fire.
Woodland Stoves and Fireplaces has over 35 working wood and gas units on display at the corner of East Franklin and Riverside Avenue in Minneapolis. More information at woodlandstoves.com. Find the fire that works for you. Woodland Stoves and Fireplaces, out of the ordinary products and services since 1977.
The world has changed. Our economy has changed. And now, more than ever, it's important that your retirement savings is set up to generate income, real money in your bank account month after month while still controlling your principal. And that's what we do. We're Ferguson Financial. We set up people for retirement income. Call us today, 888-429-5569, and check out our retirement income program, Sunday mornings at 9.
Hi, this is Chad from AM 950. Snap Construction is arguably the most well-reviewed roofing, siding, window, and insulation contractor in the metro. Ryan is so excited about working with AM 950 and our listeners that he wants to help us grow.
This is Ryan, owner of Snap Construction. I was friends with Chad long before I started marketing with him. I was a bit skeptical of radio advertising before Chad convinced us to run ads. The advertising's been so successful, we want to help the station grow. We've absolutely loved working with the listeners of AM 950, and we all know how extremely important this radio station is to the community. To help AM 950 grow, Snap Construction will be putting up proceeds to assist the station in marketing on social media. Snap Construction encourages you to follow, engage, share, and interact on the AM 950 social media platforms. Together, we can all work to ensure AM 950 continues to thrive and grow in our communities. We stand by our work with a lifetime craftsmanship guarantee. For a free estimate or more information on our financing, call 612-333-SNAP or check us out online.
With your AM 950 weather, I'm Brett Johnson. Look for sunny skies today with a high near 88. Tonight, partly cloudy with a low around 68. And Friday, scattered thunderstorms with a high near 90. Eat Local Minnesota is a great way to find locally owned restaurants and food purveyors. They feature high-quality food and unique eating experiences for your next meal. Some of those restaurants include Hazel's Northeast Cafe Latte and Scotch Mama's Hot Barbecue. Find a full list of all of our restaurants and food purveyors at eatlocalminnesota.com.
AM 950, the progressive voice of Minnesota. It's the Matt McNeil Show. 952-946-6205. 952-946-6205. Cliff Schechter, a best-selling author and ad writer for Joe Biden's presidential campaign in 2020 and 2022. His Blue Amp Action email list raised over $850,000 for Democratic candidates and progressive organizations. He hosts the Blue Amp YouTube channel, where his humorous and cutting takedowns have gone viral. By the way, you can subscribe there. Go to youtube.com/C Schechter. I will link to it later. And if you're not subscribed to that, you're just wrong. Cliff is kind enough to join us today. Hey, Cliff.
How are you, Matt?
I'm okay. So I'm doing better.
You want to get the requisite baseball out of the way?
Yeah, I'm going to get you last night. Twins at Houston, right? We put Lopez. We put Lopez. We have our starter goes great. We put Lopez in, first pitch home run. We were up. Good news. We were up. What was it? 8-0, 9-0 at that point. First pitch home run. Second or 2 pitches later, another home run. Then walks the next guy. Then beans the next guy. I'm like,
that's impressive.
Yeah,
that's
that
like
is.
Clay Holmes outing.
It did not go well. That's not the Hall of Fame footage we're going to be putting out there. I don't think the Twins did win, but they had a horrible May. They're only 2 games up on Detroit, I think they'll help their cause. Cleveland's in town. We got 4 with Cleveland here in Minneapolis, so hopefully we can knock them out, all 4 of them, and that would be a real nice breather right there.
Well, it'll be interesting. I read something that MLB had today where they're making predictions, which was incredibly cool. And again, doesn't incredibly cool for me, and doesn't mean this dude knows what the heck he's talking about. But he's like 5 bold predictions or something, and 2 of them were by a month from now or whenever, maybe the All-Star break, the Reds will be in first place in the National League Central, and the Yankees will be in first place in the American League East. I'm like, I want to bronze this thing.
What?
Nobody ever sent me anything else on either team.
Well, that is a gutsy call. I will say this: the Reds are starting to figure it out.
Again, it's like, I think we talked about this another time. They have so much talent, and they haven't even gone to their guy. You've probably heard of De La Cruz, because he broke records by hitting the ball. Like, he's down in AAA, and he keeps hitting the ball like 116 miles per hour or faster. He's got more of those now than Giancarlo Stanton or Aaron Judge, who usually are the 2 leaders in the league in that category. Although in Stanton's defense, he's been injured a while, and this is AAA. It's not like, but De La Cruz is going to be incredible, right? He's just a specimen. He's like that guy, Cruz O'Neal on the Pittsburgh Pirates, who just like a 6'7" shortstop. You know what I mean? Like, this guy's like that. He can throw the ball. But and the rest of that team, it's just a matter of, again, I've been through this. I won't get excited because I've been through this, I feel like 2 or 3 times now in my decade here. You get excited, you have all these great young prospects because you traded the older guys. They're like, all right, if they can let a bunch of those guys grow and mature, and then just bring in a couple veterans, couple guys who've been there before, who won't freak out, at the big moments and all that, to kind of guide them, they will have the right mix. And somehow our owners, the Castellinis, find a way to screw that up and piss people off and make obnoxious comments about how they don't need their fans. And they end up trading guys even when they're still barely beyond being prospects. So what I'll say to you is, on a talent level, I don't think anybody in the league, the entire league of baseball, has more young talent than Cincinnati right now. The problem is, what are they going to do with it? Yeah. And therein lies the rub. And the Yankees, also have a couple of, Jason Dominguez, you may have heard of, they call him the alien, who is just, they signed at 16, who is just ridiculous.
Oh, that's right. Yeah, I remember that guy. Yeah.
Yeah, they say he was named after Jason Giambi, which is sort of funny. And I'm trying to think where he's from. It's Venezuela. But he signed it at 16. He's barely 20, and he's already started to mash it. He just get moved to AAA, and there's talk of him he's a switch hitter, being our left fielder by the later on if we don't want to trade for somebody. He's incredible. We've got a couple other guys, so it's fun. The young guys are fun to watch because the older guys keep screwing it up. No, I shouldn't say that. The Yankees have been playing pretty well lately, but you do feel like there's a few guys on that team who are playing above their heads right now. They're going to need to get deeper if they're going to really win.
Last thing I'll just say really quick here on this is Cincinnati's only 2.5 games back. I could easily see them being first. Yankees are 6, and that would require Tampa to kind of tank it. Now, I'm not saying Tampa can't do that, but I think the chances are of those 2 predictions, I think the Reds might have a better chance than
I think that's absolutely true. So. I didn't, as I told you, I loved what he said. I didn't tell you I believed it. I'm still not convinced they're better than the Orioles either. Mm-hmm. I mean, they've been taking most series against most people, but the 2 teams they've lost the series to, even they split it 1 series with Tampa, they lost the other one with Tampa, and then they lost to the Orioles 2-1. I mean, they weren't swept by anybody, but still, those are 2 incredible teams. The American League East is ridiculous right now.
Yeah.
So I don't know. I don't know what's going to happen.
Watch Baltimore.
I'm not. Let's just say I'm not nearly as confident as that dude is. They're going to be in first place unless they're willing to make a few trades early to bolster things. If Rodon comes back, he finally comes back and pitches anything close to what we paid him. I don't know what we pay him, $200 million. I don't even know. all monopoly money. If he comes back and he's a true secondary, because there's so much more pressure on the rest of that starting rotation without him there.
Wow.
Okay, I've talked enough baseball.
All right.
I don't think you people want to hear me talk baseball.
Well,
so.
you and I could easily talk baseball all day, and people just deal with it because I like talking baseball, and Cliff's pretty smart at it. So that's why we do that. Anyway, let's get into the thing you are even smarter at. That's politics. What is your thought when you saw the Biden deal with McCarthy? What was your thoughts as you saw that? Because it really is kind of a mixed bag. I can see why people would be upset or be happy by it either way.
Well, I mean, we gave our take, and at my channel, I put out a video saying, actually, when you looked at it, it was very good. And I'm not being a Biden cheerleader here. I've criticized him in the past. I always do the sort of share with folks so that I'm letting them know. I wrote ads for him in 2020. I do not work for the White House or for the Biden campaign in any capacity. So let's start with that. My biggest problem is that, again, we're dealing with a retrograde, reactionary. We're not dealing with a force of people that belong to a party in a democracy, and you can see that by how difficult it was for McCarthy to even get the caucus to sign on to this thing. So he lost 76 of his members. That comes out to 35%. Okay, in the end, so 35%. Right? Well, we won't get into all the deals, but point being, very simply. Biden, in the end, we gave up nothing on cutting student loan relief. The cuts to the IRS ended up not being nearly what they wanted. By a lot less. Look, it's not perfect. And I said from the beginning, my big thing is with who the Republican Party is now, is you don't mess around with bullies or with nuts. You get in their faces, quite frankly, because the only thing they understand is strength. The only thing they understand is, and it just still frustrates the hell out of me. And I say this all the time: the Republican Party will do things outside of our legal system, challenge it. Our side we've gotten a lot better. Biden's gotten better. Many members of Congress, we still do this thing. We're like, well, it might end up in court, and we don't want that. And make them take it to court. Make them defend trying to blow up the world economy. The 14th Amendment is sitting right there. It is unambiguous. What's ambiguous? Actually, it's not. Well-regulated militia, shall not be infringed. Well-regulated militia comes before shall not be infringed in there. So, yeah, this is much clearer than that. It's the president's authority to ensure that our debt is paid. It's right there in the 14th Amendment. He should have said, listen, I use a worse word, but I'm on your radio station. Listen, fools, here's what I'm doing. Stamp the bill, 14th Amendment, signed, debt paid, get out of my face. That's what I would have done, because that's what they need. They need to see the Democrats are willing to do that, because that will get them to back off.
Here's one of the analysis, though, that I think that this is why Biden is pretty good at what he does, is that's exactly what the Republicans almost wanted. They wanted him to be belligerent. They wanted him to be, no, I'm going to do it on my own. And then they would have used that as, see, he can't be trusted. It's his way or the highway. What ended up happening was not only did it take away a good chunk of what their argument's going to be is Biden is acting on his own because now he's working with McCarthy on this. So that kind of negates that whole thing. But one of the more underlying things is that the government shutdown later this year is now off the table, and the debt ceiling we will not have to worry about the debt ceiling again until 2025. He basically took the gun out of the hostage taker's hand and basically said, if you want to try to hold this economy hostage, which clearly, there are just some crazy people that feel as if tanking the economy would be justified if they feel as if, they'll gladly sink on the Titanic if they're 10 feet higher up on the deck than the guy that goes drown. The Democrats are below them. And that's what
they never use common sense about anything, right? Yeah. They are those kinds of folks like, that water will never reach me. They're doing it right now. Quite literally, they're doing that in Miami. Marco Rubio is home, and other Republicans like, oh, hey, look, on some days when it's high tide, water's coming up 4 blocks. I'm sure it won't get any worse. Look, I agree with you to a point, but the one thing I've always sort of argued is you can't play this game. You can't play politics by the way you think the other side is going to react, because they're going to, no matter what Joe Biden does, no matter what Hillary Clinton did, Barack Obama did, Bill Clinton did. Think about all the times Bill Clinton reached out to them, Barack Obama reached out to them. And then and the things they did, they impeached Bill Clinton. They went after Obama with birther stuff, Hillary, horrible stuff, and Russia and everything. So to me, Biden, whether they could say he went it alone or not, they're going to say stuff anyhow. So for me, I don't choose my strategy by what they're going to say. Now, I agree with you. Biden did a terrific job. If you're going to sit down and negotiate with them, every time he sits down and negotiates with them, it's hilarious because they try to portray him as having some sort of lack of mental acuity. And if he does, they must be literally the stupidest people in the world. They're like, they're literally as smart as branches, because he goes in a room and he comes out with 80% of what he wants.
Mm-hmm.
I'm still saying, you get some of the Republicans that say, oh, he's a dictator. They'll say that anyhow. He didn't have to even taunt them, do it in their faces. He could have sat there and said, it's the 14th Amendment, it's the president's prerogative. And if you hammer it again home, you could go to places even like CNBC, right? Not just traditional Democratic spots, but pro-business spots. We are not going to let the world economy go off a cliff because Republicans are angry. We are not going to let the stock market crash in the United States. We are not going to let unemployment go up 5 points. If you were to message around that constantly and say that, and the fact that it is right there in the 14th Amendment, I think we have every bit as much chance of winning that fight as they do. And it takes this thing off the table forever.
Well, and
we have to remember that no other advanced democracy has a debt ceiling. This doesn't happen anywhere else. Actually, there's one country, Denmark, I read that, where apparently the debt ceiling is so high, like they couldn't reach it if they climbed up on like Jack's beanstalk. So, that's my problem here. But within the context of his negotiation, yes, he outdid them as he always does. McCarthy still, as much as he has to sort of kiss the butts of the crazy caucus, the clowns, the nutty billionaires, the one thing that they're a little bit less nutty about is when it comes to their money. They're all about personal interest there. And the Kochs and the Peter Thiels and the people like that, they don't want the world economy crashing. They don't want the stock market crashing. They have a lot of money to lose there.
Mm-hmm.
So McCarthy, there's always, people have to remember, there's always that pressure on McCarthy.
Mm-hmm. And by the way, and going back to your point too, with the 14th Amendment challenge, as you brought it up, is that, do you want to be the judge that basically tanks the economy with a ruling? And
Correct.
And so I agree with you wholeheartedly there. Let's talk more about McCarthy. You brought him up here. Will he survive this? I mean, there are some moderate Democrats who have tried to assure him that if there is a speaker vote that challenges him, that they'll vote for him to offset the losses. Now, that was like 20 or so Democrats. Last I checked, as you mentioned, 70 or so Republicans defaulted from this. So I don't know if that's even enough, but should the Democrats jump in here and try to keep him as speaker, or just let the Republicans flop around like a fish on the dock?
Maybe eventually something and save him, but absolutely weaken him and watch him flop around. Well, I'm not a scientist, and I can't claim to know the biology perfectly of a fish. But let's say you've got a trout flopping around somewhere. Whatever the exact amount, let's say it can flop around on the dock for about 1 minute and 45 seconds, and then it needs a breath of air. I'd give McCarthy 1 minute 44, and then throw him back in the water. Let him suffer. Let them suffer. Because remember, the inevitable, I'll say again for your show, I'll call it an S show that they will create, will make it so that we look like the adults in the room, because we are, and there's a bunch of little children fighting over the who wants the brightest colored swing at recess, which is the mentality they have. Let them fight, let them do all that stuff. And look, in the end, I said this, when the election was done, and he only had a 5-seat majority, my response right away was, Democrats should right away all go pitch. There's about a half dozen of them, not many, but I found a few of them. Moderate, they exist, but you have to look in the wild. It's like finding Bigfoot. If you search for long enough, you go on like a Raiders of the Lost Ark expedition, you can find a moderate-ish Republican. It's not easy, but about a half dozen of them exist in the House who are, there's a few I found who are pro-choice, who believe in background checks on guns, who believe climate change is real, who believe that the LGBTQ community deserves equality. Why don't you get the entire Democratic, every Democrat plus a couple Republicans behind whoever that is, offer them a speakership. They've done that in a few states. It happened here in Ohio, and it wasn't like a moderate who was offered it, but it was a crazy person versus a very conservative person, and the Democrats joined with a band of folks and gave it to the very conservative person. It happened in another state too. I can't remember which one, where so they didn't get their chosen speaker. And if you could do that with a moderate Republican in the House and get somebody, remember, once you're offering somebody the speakership, things change a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
Power goes to the head a little bit. Get somebody who's reasonable, and if they realize that they can make it, and let's remember, Chris Stewart from Utah is about to resign because of health issues with his wife, which I don't wish upon him, although he's a right-wing conspiracy nut, so I feel for his wife, I don't feel for him. So McCarthy's advantage is about to go down to 4 seats in the House.
Mm-hmm.
The resignation, I think, is going to be at the beginning of next week, and they're going to set up a special election. George Santos could go to prison, who knows when, but certainly at some point before, you could have an advantage go down to 3. I mean, there is a point where you could pitch a moderate Republican and be like, if you can bring 2 or 3 votes, it's yours. All you have to do is promise us that you won't do these 6 things and you will do those 6 things, and the rest of it's yours, and you'll do some things we'll hate, and that'll be fine.
Mm-hmm. It also
That's
is
how politics works.
It is also fascinating to watch the Republicans, the far right Republicans, who now it used to be the Bernie Sanders and the liberals, then it's all Democrats, and now it's moderate. It was moderate Republicans who are rhinos, and now it's kind of the base of their party is the villain. And I mean, as they get further and further down conspiracy corner, they are getting more and more into that little narrow corner to where everyone's against them but themselves, and that is a real dangerous place for that party to be going.
Well, it is. I mean, and the sad thing, look, it's a dangerous place for America.
Yeah.
I mean, we won a bunch of extra House seats last time around because of that, right? They ousted a couple of the people who had, they're successfully, because Wyoming, replaced Liz Cheney. But in a couple of other seats where there were people that voted, there was that one Meyer in Michigan who voted for impeachment and actually did the right thing. They went and ousted those guys, put up some crazy right-wing nut, and we won the seat. Mm-hmm. So it helps us win in some places, but it's not a good thing for democracy.
No, it's not.
It really isn't. You need 2 viable parties. And we've got one party right now that has all the hallmarks of autocracy. There's nothing about them that's democratic. They don't believe anymore in actual governance. They don't believe anymore in the rule of law. They don't believe in science. They don't believe that their opponents, are even, are the sort of almost on the same plane as them. They believe that they're below them and in some ways are evil and satanic. And this, I mean, I'm not saying all of them, but like the vast majority of that caucus is no longer something that functions in a democracy, as are situations in many states here. Mm-hmm. Thank God you guys are out there showing people the path. I use Minnesota and Michigan a lot to be like, and Virginia from 2017. I'm like, you want to have an amazing couple months, get a Democratic trifecta in place somewhere where we haven't had it for at least 10, 15, 20 years. And the amount of legislation that just saw you guys legalized marijuana. Congratulations.
Yes.
Go get yourself a joint for the next show.
August 1st. August 1st. That's when it's legal.
Okay. After August 1st, I'll come up there. We'll each smoke a bone and I'm just kidding. But I mean, like, you guys are, you're doing it up there. And I always think providing for folks like an example of what it can look like when we elect, and no, it's not all leftist, liberal, whatever that you've elected up there. There are some folks, I mean, it looks like a few of those bills might not even get through, but you've got a common sense coalition of center to left and everything in between. And look at what you've been able to do.
Common sense.
Same thing in Michigan.
Common sense gun regulation pass. That's amazing. YouTube.com/C Schechter. That's Cliff Schechter's Blue Amp YouTube page. Find it, follow it, enjoy that. Cliff, as always, exceptional to visit with you. Thank you very much. We'll chat with you before too much longer, okay?
Looking forward to it. Thanks for having me on.
My pleasure. Thank you. Cliff Schechter joining us on a Thursday. We'll take a break. Come on back. It's the Matt McNeil Show on AM 950.
Turn to Auto Technical with your vehicle donation. Even though Auto Technical is a small nonprofit, we have helped more families with transportation than any organization in Minnesota. Since '94, we have reconditioned donated vehicles so they have a higher tax benefit. Call Richard at 612-919-5526, 612-919-5526, or autotech.org.
I love my Toyota vehicles, so when it's time for me to get my service done, there's only one place I go, Rudy Luther Toyota. They know Toyotas inside and out. It starts with them checking your alignment and tire treads with their Hunter Quick Check Drive inspection service. Oil changes, tires, batteries, wipers, no matter what you need done, they can help you with reliable Toyota parts and the best service team in Minnesota. Check out their website, rudyluthertoyota.com, for service and part specials just for Toyota vehicles. Get your Toyota serviced at Rudy Luther Toyota, 394 and 169 in Golden Valley.
Tune to Connections Radio on June 3rd at 9 a.m. to learn how to transform power struggles and conflict into meaningful conversation and internal freedom. Yvette Erasmussen is a teacher, writer, and psychologist who integrates core insights from multiple wisdom traditions. She draws from psychology, Semitic theories, nonviolent communication, as well as insights from more than 25 years of international teaching, coaching, and therapy. Yvette will be on Connections Radio Saturday, June 3rd at 9 a.m.
Discover what fuels you and score grill savings you can't find at big box warehouses. Warner Stellian specialists make it simple to choose the perfect gas grill, pellet smoker, or griddle from the hottest brands. And you'll love our exclusive in-store deals. We have the lowest grill prices of the year. Plus, get 3 boxes of no-name meats and seafood. Your time is money, so let our pros handle the assembly and then just tell us where and when you want it, and we'll deliver it for free. Only from your local grill headquarters, Warner Stellian.
AM 950, the progressive voice of Minnesota. It's the Matt McNeil Show. Should mention 2 Republicans in the state of Minnesota did vote against the compromise bill. Fischbach and Finstead both voted against it, which should be a huge warning to everybody that at least what they think in their districts is appropriate is that they would rather crash the economy than come into some sort of, bipartisan agreement. That is where they're at. That the economy should crash. And I can tell you right now, as much as you guys want to think that basically defaulting on the debt would have hurt Wall Street and all those banks, no. Where it would decimate the economy would be in rural America. Undeniably, it would have annihilated rural America. So say thanks to your bosses there. Hour 2, that's coming up next.
Are your remote workers putting your company at risk? Not sure what steps to take to secure your data? Hi, Mark Sommerfeld from Rymark. The Rymark team is guiding our clients through these difficult times. In fact, demand has been so high, we created an easy-to-follow guide with the 5 steps to securely work from home. It's yours free. Download our 5 steps to securely work from home now at rymarkit.com or call 651-328-8900 for a no-cost how-to discussion.
Hello, AM 950 listener. I know you. You take the news seriously. When you read the headlines these days, it makes you want to hang your head down and cry. Well, to hell with that. What you need is a laugh from the left. So do yourself a favor. Listen to Facepalm America with host Beowulf Rockland every Sunday night at 9.
It's Brad Friedman, your friendly investigative blogger, journalist, and host of the Bradcast on AM 950, KTNF, St. Louis Park, Minneapolis, St. Paul, the progressive voice of Minnesota.
When it comes to houses, disassembly is our game, deconstruction is our fame. There are some bucks for your project. Better Futures Minnesota is your contact.
Instead of demolishing your home, let us take it apart by hand, and we can find the building materials a new home. Limited funds are allotted in 2023 for Hennepin County residents and public entities to make deconstruction even more affordable. Check out betterfuturesminnesota.com. That's betterfuturesminnesota.com.
No matter if you're eating out or cooking something at home, EatLocalMinnesota.com has you covered with a list of locally owned restaurants and food purveyors. Locally owned Vinaigrette has been offering the finest olive oil and vinegar since 2009. Reintroduce yourself to all the many flavors by tasting before you buy. From darker white balsamic to cold-pressed extra virgin olive oil from all over the world, there is something for everyone. Vinaigrette, located at 50th and Xerxes in Minneapolis, or at vinaigrettemn.com. The Park Tavern is your go-to destination for fun. Enjoy the fantastic food like their pizzas, burgers, and sandwiches, the best bowling in Minnesota, their wildly popular outdoor patio, great drink specials, all the big games on their numerous screens, and it's the perfect place for your next private event, even large gatherings for over 200. The Park Tavern is your go-to destination for everyone. Have fun at the Park Tavern, Louisiana Avenue, north of Highway 7 in St. Louis Park.
I'm Elizabeth Sullivan.
And I'm Kelly Wagner.
Energize yourself with AM 950's new programming block, Sunday Shine Radio, from 10 a.m. to 1 p.m.
Sunday Shine Radio radiates wellness, consciousness, and curiosity. Join us for Green Tea Conversations at 10,
Exploring Sovereignty with Elizabeth at 11 a.m.,
and the Being Curious Show at noon. Our lineup focuses on igniting your own self-discovery and personal wellness.
Tune in every Sunday for Sunday Shine Radio from 10 a.m. to 1 p.m.
and let us guide you on an inspirational journey each week.
Tune in for Philosophy Talk, the program that questions everything
except your intelligence.
Coming up, can art save us?
You really think movies are going to solve climate change?
I don't know, Ray. Haven't you seen An Inconvenient Truth?
Haven't you seen all those gas-guzzling cars in the Fast and the Furious? That's what people are actually watching.
That truth is a bit inconvenient.
Can art save us? Next time on Philosophy Talk.
Philosophy Talk, every Sunday at 8 a.m. on AM 950.
Warner Stellian has grill savings you can't find at big box warehouses. Score the lowest prices of the year on gas grills, pellet smokers, and griddles. Plus, get 3 boxes of no-name meats and seafood. Then our pros assemble and deliver for free.
If you've made the decision to level your home and build new or to renovate, hire Better Futures Minnesota to take it apart by hand. Think before you scrap. Think of the energy and greenhouse gases saved by diverting what can be reused and recycled from the landfill. Better Futures Minnesota can do it for you. Hennepin County residents and public entities, there are funds available to make the environmentally right thing to do comparable to demolition. Check out betterfuturesminnesota.com. That's betterfuturesminnesota.com.
One of the best things about living in Golden Valley is that it celebrates the LGBTQ community. Did you know that Golden Valley has more LGBTQ households per capita than any city in Minnesota? Did you also know that the Golden Valley Pride Festival was the first suburban pride festival in Minnesota? On Saturday, June 10th, come to Brookview Park in Golden Valley for the Golden Valley Pride Festival from noon to 6 p.m. and celebrate our 5th anniversary. The festival highlights our LGBTQ families, their friends, and allies in the spirit of promoting greater understanding of Golden Valley's rich and growing diversity. The event will feature 2 stages with live performances all day, food trucks and food vendors, a kids area with games, a beer, wine, and cider tent, as well as more than 70 community, business, and sponsor tents and exhibitors. There will also be kickball and volleyball games. Go to goldenvalleypride.com for more information. That's goldenvalleypride.com. We can't wait to see you at Golden Valley Pride Festival.
With your AM 950 weather, I'm Brett Johnson. Look for sunny skies today with a high near 88, tonight partly cloudy with a low around 68, and Friday scattered thunderstorms with a high near 90.
Warner Stellian has grill savings you can't find at big box warehouses. Score the lowest prices of the year on gas grills, pellet smokers, and griddles. Plus, get 3 boxes of no-name meats and seafood. Then our pros assemble and deliver for free. Only from Warner Stellian.
Portions of the following program may be pre-recorded.
Hour 2 of the show here on your Thursday, Matt and Brett. Just in case the news is not firing. I think Big Lou's behind it.
I think he is too.
He's a little porky too. He's on wife number 3 or 2. I don't know what he's up to.
We're missing hearing from Big Lou and all of his friends.
Hey, that's a good thing. It's a good thing. If people are happy, it's a good thing. I can mock those commercials all day long. They're a network. What are they going to do to me? They can't even send us a news. 952-946-6205, 952-946-6205. Hey, did you see we might have the World's Fair? Okay, so I'm just going to hold our breath here for a sec, okay? we don't do well in these bidding categories. Going back to the Olympics in '92 with the Atlanta.
Oh yes, I forgot we were a finalist for a while, weren't we?
Well, I mean, there was just such a naivete by the Minnesota delegation. Look, we made hot dish, and meanwhile, Coca-Cola and allegedly, and Atlanta walked in there with buckets of cash and said, "We don't care where this goes. Let's make sure the vote at the end of the day matches that."
We could have just put them all in the Metrodome for all the events.
We tell you what we're going to do. Oh, we'll take y'all fishing sometime. Yeah. Money, cash, bling, bling. That's what you should have done. Anywho, we didn't get that, in case you didn't know it. And we apparently tried to get the World's Fair a few years ago. This was, I guess in 2023. Okay, I'll tell you what. I'll just go through the story here because we did try to get this here, and they seem to move things around. They're trying to lobby the international delegates to choose Bloomington to host the city for the World's Fair Specialized Expo. Now they're saying Bloomington because they'll just put it right next to Mall America. And let's just face it. Come on, man. There you go. Members of the Minnesota USA Expo bid committee were in Paris last week, and the U.S. State Department officials remain there. They've been making frequent trips and will do so again in 2 weeks. Their mission is to convince as many of the of 140 of 160 delegates of the other countries to rank Minnesota's bid at near the top of their ballots on June 21st. Getting selected by the Bureau International des Expositions delegates, thank you, would be a huge win for the state's bid committee. It would also need to put together a public-private partnership to secure financing, said Ted Johnson, senior advisor for Minnesota USA Expo. I don't think that that's going to be an issue. I really do not think that that's going to be an issue at all. I think you'll easily get some money, that's for sure, if that comes to Minnesota. Minnesota's civic and political leaders have been working for a decade to get the expo here. The state was a finalist for the 2023 Specialized Expo, but it lost out to Argentina in 2018 in that vote. So the U.S. is up against, so Argentina got it in 2018. They're up again, apparently, for it. Serbia, Spain, and Thailand. Now, I will say this about the World's Fair Expo. When it comes to this, they generally do not really, it's not like the Olympics where it's, you can tell when a country is getting bribing them to bring it there or something of that nature. So, it's in this case, they could easily pick. Well, I don't know Serbia right now. I don't know if you've seen what's going on over there with the attacks in Kosovo by Serbs on the people there. That's not good. Spain. Who doesn't like Spain? Spain's lovely. Have you tried the wines? Thailand. God, I could do a street food tour of Thailand. So that's got us there. So we got the Mall of America. So I think Argentina and Serbia probably out. Spain, Thailand probably going to be our biggest challenges here. Some countries have a policy of keeping their choices private, so it's hard to know who may have the upper hand going into the vote. But Johnson said the U.S. committee already has a solid block of votes. Amy Klobuchar told Axios she's met with the representatives from other voting nations to make Minnesota's case as the process of calling dozens more. It reminds me of an international version of political convention, keeping track of where everyone is, Klobuchar said, who also traveled to Dubai's Expo last year to promote the bid. We're doing that. Johnson said this time around, the committee has a stronger backing from the State Department and go along with continued support from Tom Emmer is in there, Dean Phillips, and Governor Walz. So you got bipartisan support. You got, Senate, House, Governor. Walz has written a letter to 22 countries asking for support. Dear Italy, how you doing? I'm the governor of Minnesota. It's one of the 50. Okay, it's up on the north side. Okay. Love the pasta. Vote for us.
She's kind of a right winger, though, the prime minister of Italy.
Right. Okay,
she might not be very friendly to Tim Walz.
Dear Sweden, guess who?
You might not have much more luck with Sweden either.
Yeah, we're still snuggle buddies. We're snuggle buddies with all the Scandinavians.
I thought they had a right winger that they elected too. Okay.
Did they?
Yeah.
What the hell? Finland, okay?
I think Finland's all right. There we go.
There you go. New Zealand, fine. We'll get New Zealand on our side.
Can't go wrong with that.
No, it can't. I mean, New Zealand sounds like a freaking hoot. So the cost of $1.3 billion to $1.5 billion, the expo would be held the summer of 2027 near Mall of America. The committee estimates it would bring 14 million visitors during the 93-day run, or as Republicans say, no! Scream louder. While organizers say the bulk of expenses would be covered by ticket sales, the Minnesota legislature would approve $5 million grant used for planning purposes should the U.S. win the bid. The U.S. hasn't hosted the World's Fair since New Orleans in 1984. Minnesota has a chance to break its 40-year drought. Just like our sports teams. Just going to win it any day. That's us. That's us. We're going to be a winner.
We'll be bidding on the 2100 World's Fair coming up. We're eventually going to break that century streak.
God. And I guarantee you none of the local sports teams will have won a championship by then. All right. 952-946-6205. One thing I will say, if you are going to bring a bunch of people here, you need to be careful with the mosquitoes. Mosquito season in Minnesota this year is proving to be as annoying as advertised. The Metropolitan Mosquito Control District, get buggy, said in early May that 2023's hatching season could be the biggest compared to the past 2 years. That is a boring job, man. But noticeable numbers projected at the end of May or early June. I went for a walk this morning with the dog. I was covered in freaking bugs, man. I was like, it was bad. It was almost like when I went out to Fort Ridgely State Park. I'm like, make it stop.
I was streaming a baseball game that was actually in a stadium right by the Minnesota River down in Chaska. Yeah, that was terrible. Just as we got like past 8 o'clock, it was swatting and trying to announce.
Did you look like the bee guy?
Yes.
Just bugs all over you. They found another spot. Stop it. According to the latest data, the organization received a record number of calls and emails, 962 from May 22nd to May 28th, reporting the high mosquito activity. In contrast, during the same time last year, they'd only had 59 calls. It's a rough one this year. Oh, cripes, yeah. Because Minnesota experienced drought conditions in 2021-2022, the state had low mosquito numbers this year, with the National Weather Service predicting normal precipitation in June, July, and August. Mosquito numbers are expected to increase. Last year, because of the drought, we had a peak abundance of mosquitoes. Well, I just saw from Sven. He did the weather. I just saw him. He said June actually is probably going to be dry, so maybe that might give us a break. Last year, because of the drought, we had a peak abundance of mosquitoes in the first weeks of June. As of now, we're already surpassing numbers from this time last year. It's hard to know where the numbers will go. The areas that are seeing the most mosquito bites on May 22nd and 23rd, southern Ramsey County and St. Paul, northern parts of Anoka and Washington counties, the border of Scott and Carver counties, and apparently Brett's house. I don't, no, they're not really bad at your house. They got a service, man. We'll get you one of those. We'll get you one of those propane tank things that works to get the bugs off you. Okay. I tell you, I went down to my son played a game in New Ulm. This is 10 years ago. Went and played a baseball game down in New Ulm. So I'm driving down there. I've seen this spectacular sunset. I say, I got to pull over. So I just pull over next to some farm fields, right? I get out of the car. Holy God. They didn't tell you when you get out state, it's buggy, man. It is really freaking buggy out there. Unbelievable. I walk like 5 steps. I'm like, okay, I'm back in the car. And I guarantee you, I took like 20 of them with me all the way back to the metro area. So, it sucks to be them. But, yeah, it was rough. You get out there, man. You get anywhere by any of the major rivers too.
Yeah, it's not good. And
you now understand why, when you look at these pictures of all the people that those first European settlers that came here, why they were decked out in clothes from head to toe, even in the middle of summer. I mean, I guarantee you they were still getting through those wool coats.
Yeah, they didn't quite have the deep woods off back when they were settling here to help with that.
Yeah, it's summer when they can take off the vest. That's no longer the wool vest. They'll just go with the jacket, shirt, and underwear combo. Sweating. I mean, that must have been an aromatic group of people. I'm just going to let you know. 952-946-6205. 952-946-6205. Pride Month kicks off today. And I want to take some time here. And I've said I'm going to bring this up consistently, and I have. I am incredibly disappointed in the NCAA. This is the college sports organization that basically runs championships and tournaments and stuff like this. For a while, the NCAA took a standard that if you come to the table wanting to host a sporting event, you're better not be in a state where hate is the law. And they basically have caved dramatically at their own expense. And I'm sorry, I'm livid with it. I'm livid with it. Let's take a trip down to Oklahoma, where currently the softball World Series is being played for college softball. And it is it's going on. They've got this in Oklahoma City. They've got this huge facility that they have built basically for this. But what they've also built there is a legacy of hate, which you generally don't see too many other places. This is a bit of a long story. I'll try to get through as much as I can because I got Mike McEntee coming in here at about 4:35 this afternoon. The legislators' $3 billion tax bill was one of the 2023. I am reading the wrong story. That was the tax bill from last hour. This would be the Oklahoma story. Oklahoma lawmakers have introduced 40 bills limiting LGBTQ Oklahomans' healthcare access, inclusion in schools, and options for self-expression in this legislative session. This is from a study by Oklahoma Watch. When the first bills were considered Wednesday by a Senate committee, this is a story from a few months ago. About 30 LGBTQ community members lined both sides of the meeting room wearing bright pinks and blues in support of the trans community 2 days after Governor Kevin Stitt called for a statewide ban on gender-confirming procedures for minors in the state of the state speech. Those community members were excluded from discussions on a bill banning gender-confirming care for minors and others that was modified to block public funds from going to providers of gender-confirming care. Mind you, once again, the people that this would affect, they didn't even want to hear from in Oklahoma. The Senate Rules Committee allowed no time for public comment because they're cowards. The two people that put it forward, Daniels and Bullard, struggled to answer questions about vague or unidentified aspects about their bills. Daniels failed to reference specific peer-reviewed reports she used to develop her bill. Kurt and Floyd said the votes were against sending the bills to the Senate floor. In the meeting, Nicole McAfee, executive director of the LGBTQ advocacy group Freedom Oklahoma, stood in a huddle of protesters, mainly visibly dejected. It's not an easy situation, McAfee said to the group. Being here is never an easy thing. I want to thank all of you for bearing witness to what happened today. More bills like these could be advancing along the proposals filed by state Republican legislators are bills that would limit classroom discussion of gender and sexual orientation, prohibit use of pronouns based on gender identity in schools, ban drag shows in public places. At least 16 of these bills could affect gender-confirming care of minors and adults. I mean, like I said, Oklahoma is on turbocharged on this stuff. Stitt signed the bill basing school-sponsored sports teams' memberships on biological sex last spring. He signed another law into effect banning non-binary birth certificates, gender markers, or gender marker changes for trans people after a civil liberties group sued the state over an executive order banning the markers. Another law went into effect this school year requiring public school students to use the bathroom that aligned with their biological sex. No violations were reported by the State Department of Education last semester, and the law is being challenged by the ACLU. Can I just tell you how insane it is? We have people who are saying, because I could be uncomfortable, I need to see your privates. You know, it is truly amazing that the Republicans have become. You need to drop trowel and show me every aspect of your lower body region, or else I'm going to be uncomfortable. That's your Republicans today. In September, lawmakers voted to prevent OU children's from Oklahoma University Children's Hospital from receiving federal American Rescue Plan Act funds unless it stopped providing gender-confirming procedures to minors. In many cases, Republican legislators are aiming to increase restrictions. I think the level of harm threatened when we see the people jump into these trends of this volume is just shocking, said McAfee. We'll take a break. When I come on back, I want to finish more of this story, and then I want to come back and I want to point to how the NCAA is failing spectacularly at their own standard of not tolerating intolerance. They themselves have snuggled up to intolerance, and it's disgusting. 952-946-6205. It's the Matt McNeil Show right here on AM 950.
One of the best things about living in Golden Valley is that it celebrates the LGBTQ community. Did you know that Golden Valley has more LGBTQ households per capita than any city in Minnesota? Did you also know that the Golden Valley Pride Festival was the first suburban pride festival in Minnesota? On Saturday, June 10th, come to Brookview Park in Golden Valley for the Golden Valley Pride Festival from noon to 6 p.m. and celebrate our 5th anniversary. The festival highlights our LGBTQ families, their friends, and allies in the spirit of promoting greater understanding of Golden Valley's rich and growing diversity. The event will feature 2 stages with live performances all day, food trucks and food vendors, a kids area with games, a beer, wine, and cider tent, as well as more than 70 community, business, and sponsor tents and exhibitors. There will also be kickball and volleyball games. Go to goldenvalleypride.com for more information. That's goldenvalleypride.com. We can't wait to see you at Golden Valley Pride Festival.
I'm Elizabeth Sullivan.
And I'm Kelly Wagner.
Energize yourself with AM 950's new programming block, Sunday Shine Radio, from 10 a.m. to 1 p.m.
Sunday Shine Radio radiates wellness, consciousness, and curiosity. Join us for Green Tea Conversations at 10,
Exploring Sovereignty with Elizabeth at 11 a.m.,
and the Being Curious Show at noon. Our lineup focuses on igniting your own self-discovery and personal wellness.
Tune in every Sunday for Sunday Shine Radio from 10 a.m. to 1 p.m.
and let us guide you on an inspirational journey each week.
When it comes to houses, disassembly is our game, deconstruction is our fame. There are some bucks for your project. Better Futures Minnesota is your contact.
Instead of demolishing your home, let us take it apart by hand, and we can find the building materials a new home. Limited funds are allotted in 2023 for Hennepin County residents and public entities to make deconstruction even more affordable. Check out betterfuturesminnesota.com. That's betterfuturesminnesota.com.
Don't drive too fast or you will miss Scott Jamama's Hot Barbecue. Scott Jamama's offers huge taste out of a little place. Located at 3 West Diamond Lake Road near the intersection of Nicollet Avenue and West Diamond Lake Road in Minneapolis, this tiny hole in the wall offers mouth-watering baby back ribs, grilled chicken, and half-pound pulled pork sandwiches. Don't forget to add the potato salad, spicy baked beans, twice-baked potatoes, and delicious desserts. Find their hours and full menu at scottjamamas.com.
AM 950, the progressive voice of Minnesota. It's the Matt McNeil Show. 952-946-6205. 952-946-6205 is the phone number. So back to what's going on in Oklahoma. This is, once again, this is a story from earlier this year, but it kind of gives you an idea of all the just the horrible bigotry-induced laws that Oklahoma is trying to pass. Stitt, the governor down there, has called the legislators to send him legislation banning gender-confirming procedures and hormone therapies for minors statewide multiple times. The latest coming Monday in the State of the State address. 11 of the 16 related bills aim to do that. A handful will limit care for adults as well, though most bills provide definitions for the procedures they're banning. State Bill 787, Senate Bill 789 by Senator Rob Standridge, a Republican from Norman, did not. ACLU Oklahoma Policy Director Cindy Nigan said the wording of restrictions can often be vague, which can create chilling effect on physicians that provide procedures that could be affected. Nathan Drum, a Republican from Broken Arrow, Oklahoma, filed a bill banning minors from assessing gender-confirming care. Medical providers who provide the care illegally could risk losing their license, according to the bill. Dom, who ran unsuccessfully for former U.S. Senator Jim Inhofe's seat and reaches his state Senate term limit in 2024, said he's been concerned about the effects of the procedure on people under 18 for years. No, they haven't. They just basically, after abortion was overturned by the overturning of Roe v. Wade, the abortion laws, they made them illegal again. Now they basically frantically went out there to try to find something they could social medially go after. And so they decided to vilify and be bigots against the transgender community. Once again, and this is just there are 5 of the school related bills. This is just going to the school related bills. 5 of the school related bills would limit instruction about gender and sexual orientation or ban it from elementary schools and early middle school students. Rogers filed a bill banning instruction on gender identity and sexual orientation in kindergarten through 6th grade. He also filed a bill requiring parents to give written consent for their child to be referred to by pronouns that don't align with their biological sex or be called a name that's not a version of the ones on their birth certificate. Wow. State Senator Shane Jett, a Shawnee, authored a bill that would prohibit the instruction of same age group, but also states that other grades, an equal amount of time must be spent on the two-gender perspective, so that if you actually say, oh, there are transgender people there, the first thing out of your mouth is going to be, they're non-transgender people too, apparently. Jett filed 5 other school-related bills, including one that states that if a student disputes their biological sex, they can establish their identity with school administrators by sending a physician statement indicating their reproductive autonomy, normal levels of testosterone, and analysis of their genetic makeup. That bill also bans schools from creating, enforcing, or endorsing a policy respecting, favoring, or promoting non-secular sex-based identity narratives because those identities are part of the secular humanism religion, he says. Jess also authored a bill banning public schools from making available books which LGBTQ issues as their primary subject. Oklahoma watches 4 attempts to reach Jett for comment were unsuccessful. Danny Williams, Republican from Seminole, authored a bill amending the Parents' Bill of Rights to allow parents to inspect all classrooms materials. Another authored by Bullard allowed parents to inspect all curriculum, texts, and surveys related to sexual orientation and gender identity before their student participates. That's actually what happens in schools already. It's just you're a lazy-ass parent and you don't want to go down doing it when they have the open houses. So this is just at any time a parent can kick open the door and you need to show me what you're teaching. You get the idea. Oklahoma is bigotville, and it is. It's bigotry. Anti-LGBTQ, anti-transgender. It's just plain bigotry. Now, you would say to yourself that the NCAA might actually have some leverage here because they do have the Division I softball championship held at their facilities in Oklahoma State, which is in Oklahoma City, rather, I should say. It is a pretty big event, and it brings a lot of people in. And what you could do is say, you know what? If you're going to be passing these bills, we're going to move this to a different state. Unfortunately, the NCAA had a chance to do this. This is a reading from a Washington Post story from 2021. In the deep red state of Oklahoma, civil rights advocates are used to finding themselves nearly powerless to combat legislation targeting LGBTQ people. Sometimes they say all they can do is hold their breath and see what happens. But this year, in 2021, amid a torrent of anti-transgender legislation sweeping through Republican-controlled legislatures, advocates in Oklahoma found what they believed was a powerful ally, the NCAA. College sports are economic powerhouses in Oklahoma, including the annual NCAA softball championship in Oklahoma City. This spring, as a bill on transgender girls and young people from participating in women's sports may move through Oklahoma's legislature, the threat of losing the Women's College World Series and other NCAA tournaments made Republican lawmakers cautious. Then in April, the NCAA issued a statement that seemed to threaten to pull championships from states with anti-transgender bills and appeared to stop the bill cold in the Oklahoma Senate, according to the multiple state Republicans. But just a month later, the NCAA awarded regional championships in softball to 3 states that had passed their own bans on transgender children's participation in sports. A few Oklahoma Republicans immediately began to revive their efforts to pass the bill, arguing that the NCAA had reversed its position. According to a person familiar with the situation in the Senate, the message was clear in some states. Republican offices, that person said the NCAA was bluffing. As conservative activists across the country work to ban transgender athletes from girls and women's sports, LGBTQ rights advocates say they were counting on the NCAA to stand up on the onslaught of anti-transgender legislation because it stages championship events in virtually every state. The college sports behemoth has power other teams and leagues don't. The NCAA has instead walked a careful tightrope, making statements that have fallen short of the explicit promise to pull events from states with legislation. I want to make sure I point out exactly what did happen here in 2021. The NCAA came on out and they said, we're going to pull your championship. Immediately, the hate bills stopped in their tracks in Oklahoma. Now, I don't know what happened. I don't know if there was a threat of a lawsuit. I don't know if there was a threat of bait or there was an agreement made that is, well, as long as those people are in during the tournament, we're not going to kick open any locker room doors and do inspections. I don't know what they did. But I will point out that right now, Oklahoma is the epicenter, the seventh frickin' circle of hell in regards to bigotry and transphobia in this country. And the NCAA, in their proud stance, has basically said, okay, here, you're going to have the softball tournament. It's a travesty this is going on. And I want to make sure we're very clear here. It's not just transgender bigotry. It's anti-LGBTQIA plus community bigotry. And there are plenty of athletes in that tournament who are actively being discriminated against by Oklahoma, and the NCAA just does not care. They could move those tournaments up to Minnesota real easy, and send a message. Instead, when a day and age we're looking for heroes, what we're looking at right now is just cowardice. And that's the NCAA, a bunch of freaking cowards. 952-946-6205, 952-946-6205. We'll take a break. Come on back. A blast from ye old past returns as Mike McIntyre jumps in the studio here to talk about the 10th anniversary of his film. We'll talk to him about that. It's the Matt McNeil Show right here on AM 950.
Hey, John, I heard you're turning 65 this year. Time to start comparing your Medicare insurance options.
I'm so overwhelmed with all the different Medicare companies and plan designs. I don't even know where to begin.
Really? I worked with CompareYourMedicare.com, and they made my Medicare decisions seem easy.
Oh, really? What do they do?
CompareYourMedicare.com represents several of the top Medicare insurance companies in Minnesota. A local licensed agent will help you compare Medicare plans to determine which products best meet your needs and budget.
Hi, this is Jared with CompareYourMedicare.com. We're a local small business that prides itself in helping our community with their Medicare needs. Medicare is complex, but it doesn't have to be. Whether you're planning to retire early or work past Medicare eligibility at age 65, give us a call. We can guide you through how and when to apply for Medicare. Go to CompareYourMedicare.com or call 952-465-0074 to schedule a consultation. CompareYourMedicare.com is part of the Minnesota Health Insurance Network of Agents.
Hey, it's Patrick. While you and your family are ready for summer, make sure your home is ready for summer too. There are going to be a lot of people over at your house for those barbecues and graduation parties in June, so make sure to check in with my friends at Zero Res to make sure your floors are in tip-top shape. And now that summer is finally here, it's time to take advantage of Zero Res's best deal of the year. Carpets, tile, rugs, upholstery, basically every surface in your home can be Zero Resified, so it's time to call my cleaning heroes at Zero Res. It's also the perfect time of year to get your air ducts and your dryer vent cleaned too. You've waited and now you save. Book now and take advantage of the summer sale and get 20% off all services. Schedule your appointment by calling 952-0-RES or going to zeroresminnesota.com and asking for the AM 950 special. Backorder forward spells the same, Zero Res.
Seward Co-op is now offering convenient self-serve and prepackaged hot options and salad bars at both the Franklin and Friendship stores. Breakfast items available daily until 11 a.m. and brunch served all day every Sunday. Their weekly lunch and dinner menus highlight cuisines from around the world. They offer vegan, vegetarian, and gluten-free options daily. 95% of the ingredients used are organic from small-scale, local community food producers whenever possible. More at seward.coop.
With your AM 950 weather, I'm Brett Johnson. Look for sunny skies today with a high near 88. Tonight, partly cloudy with a low around 68. And Friday, scattered thunderstorms with a high near 90. Eat Local Minnesota is a great way to find locally owned restaurants and food purveyors. They feature high-quality food and unique eating experiences for your next meal. Some of those restaurants include Hazel's Northeast Cafe Latte and Scotch Mama's Hot Barbecue. Find a full list of all of our restaurants and food purveyors at eatlocalminnesota.com.
AM 950, the progressive voice of Minnesota. It's the Matt McNeil Show. So I went into one of the back rooms here and found it the door was locked. Open it up and my God, Mike McIntyre was in there. Is that where you win. My goodness.
It's 5 years. I was looking it up since April of 2018. I've been knocking on the door. No one answered. So
I told you I heard crying back there, didn't you? I thought we all both thought it was Patrick.
Oh,
No,
okay.
I could have sworn there was something back there. Mike McEntee, and if you don't remember, Mike, of course, hosted a show here, The Uptake, the fantastic news outlet that you were running for a long time here at AM 950 for many, many years, and kind enough to take a step back and to join us back in the studio here.
yeah, it's good to come out here. I forgot what traffic was like. So
You said you want to come out here. Like, you sure you want to come out here? Good luck getting home. Oh, which way do you got to go?
I got to take 494 over to Egan. So
we appreciate your service.
I just need to get there by next week. So
you should. I think that's what they're calling for. So first of all, let's catch everyone up. What have you been up to?
Let's see. I've been doing a stint. I did a stint working for Egan Television. That's what I did just after I left here. And recently left there to go work for another company where they are kind enough to let me work wherever I want. So that was kind of like, whoa, I can do that in video production. That's kind of cool. And working on spinning up a new company for them, a new division, just doing video productions, association management company. So
Is it video production in regards to news, or is it for corporate? What's
it is for association, so it's kind of like nonprofits.
Okay.
But it's not strictly news production. It's about get news about nonprofits and that kind of stuff. So
well, and that's got to be kind of somewhat rewarding, because there's so many great nonprofits out there that have such great stories that unless you're part of that organization, you'll never hear about them.
Yeah, and to be clear, these are more of associations, so it's not like the American Cancer Institute or anything. It's like the coalition of people who have porta potties. Literally that is one of them. But it is they all try to do good things, and it's good to tell their stories.
Okay. Of course, we should mention The Uptake. That when you sold that off, right?
Well, no, Uptake is still around. I recently was elected the board chair. I don't know if that was a penalty or if it was they needed some help. So I'm the board chair of the Uptake, and we're kind of pulling the bootstraps up again to get it. It's been tough lately to make a nonprofit news organization work, so it's still kicking, and we're hoping to get it back on track. So
I remember didn't Doubt kick you guys out of the house at one point? Because I mean, if you don't, the uptake is basically a great way to say it is a Minnesota-based version of C-SPAN. You guys would go over there, just put a camera there, and let you catch all the stuff that was going on.
Right.
That was there. And if I remember, didn't they ban you at one point?
Well, it was actually the Palenti administration.
Palenti, okay.
Yeah, Palenti administration. They may have had some help from other organizations or other political folks to say, hey, we're really not happy about these folks being here. Maybe. So they said, we had a lease on an office, and they said, we need to review your lease. And for the time being, we'd rather you not be here. And amazingly, Governor Dayton got elected and all went away. So
funny story. Well, and yeah, I mean, it was that just tells you kind of everything where Republicans are at today, is that the idea of just having a camera to watch what's going on. I mean, this is what someone said to me. One of the best things about the Democrats winning in November was the fact that we were going to have open public hearings, which we did, and we weren't going to have any more of these dog and pony show hearings, where it was basically talk about how transgender people are bad, or talk about how gay people are bad, or talk about how the Democrats are bad, that we got rid of all those. And so we actually got work done.
The legislative session here has gotten more work done in the last year than we had practically in the last 5. So.
Easy.
Yeah.
Unbelievable. You and I both had a front row seat for the legalization of marriage equity in Minnesota.
Yes.
Gosh, I remember when we were working against the constitutional amendment.
Vote no campaign.
The vote no campaign. Where they're coming, it's like, we don't, there's nothing I thought was, the people that were trying to, be bigots against gay people saying, we don't hate gay people. We just don't think you should have the equal rights.
Yeah.
And I was like, yeah, okay, we defeated that. What I always will remember is the legislator in 2013, after that got defeated, coming on out there and saying, well, we don't know if we're going to address gay marriage yet. And I'm like, what? You just had a referendum. And thank God saner minds applied, because it was clear Minnesota was okay with gay marriage at that point.
Yeah, and we documented this. I think that's what we're building up to here in How Love Won, which showed all of this happening, and the people who were running the Vote No campaign, had this great moment. They won, and they realized we're not done yet.
Yeah,
we're not done yet. We got to do something.
Yeah,
and that. Then what happened was epic in history, and it's just the joy of being on the right side of history.
How Love Won, where does it start? Where's the story start?
The story starts when Republicans won the House, and I think, did they win the House and the Senate? But they won control in 2010 of the legislature, and immediately started plotting what they wanted to do. And they said, we're going to do a constitutional amendment to make same-sex marriage illegal in Minnesota. And it's a playbook that had been tried and done in dozens of states, I believe, before then. And it had always been successful. But they made one big mistake in Minnesota. Before, one, doing it in Minnesota, but two, they did it and announced they were going to do it like more than a year before the vote was going to happen, a year and a half. Usually this is like dumped on the electorate, and then, 3 months later you vote on it. There was a lot of time to put together that campaign. And what the movie shows is how the supporters of the Vote No side took advantage of that and did some incredible things that I don't know if you can still do, but it sure turned a lot of people's opinion from I don't know to you can't do that. And I think, and that's one of the cool things about the movie, is it's really almost a blueprint for how do you approach really hard social issues. How do you get people to talk about that? How do you deal with, how do you change people's hearts and minds? And that's tough, especially as the rhetoric and the Fox Newses of the world have blown people up so that they're toxic. It is hard to do that.
You brought the point up about them announcing it earlier. I've always said this, and I remember I got a lot of Republicans mad at me, so too bad.
Okay, that's never happened before, Matt.
I know that. I got a bunch of Republicans mad at me because I said, if you guys were really trying to get this done, 2011, you should have put it on the bill then, because it was an off-year election.
No one would have showed up.
No one would have showed up. It had not given a lot of time for that to happen, but because they were looking at 2012 and the election year, it was all, clearly there was a lot of direction at this coming from a national level where they wanted, they're going after Obama. They wanted that election out there. They wanted a high Republican turnout. And so they put it for that. But the reality is if you truly were against gay marriage, if you put it on that 2011 ballot, you probably would have won that ballot, because it was just such a off, we generally just do not vote in off years.
It gin up the base.
Yeah.
I mean, that's what this is about, is gin up, and everything. In fact, just what we just happened with the debt ceiling is all about ginning up the base, getting them to, angry and wanting to get out and vote. And that works both ways, though. I mean, take a look what happened with abortion.
Yeah.
That was a horrible mistiming. The Republicans didn't control it. It was done by the Supreme Court, but they got their butt handed to them because of that. Even though they took control of the House, they didn't do what you would normally do in off-year election.
Well, and I brought up this last hour or last segment. They're desperately trying to turn anti-transgender into the new, overturn Roe v. Wade. And the problem that they have is, even in the state of Minnesota, they don't even think this through. Minnesota's your second largest business. They had just had the story. It's the second largest business in the state, employs 440,000 people in the state of Minnesota. And you guys are going on going to war against them. That just, it doesn't, they're drunks in the dark bar throwing haymakers and hitting nothing. And it really does kind of go back to that. They fall in love with the idea. They don't fall in love with the practicality of, can you even sell something like that here?
Yeah. You were last half hour, you were talking about the anti-trans laws
in Oklahoma.
Oklahoma. I used to live in Oklahoma. I survived Oklahoma. I worked there a long time ago, but I can see where that happens down there. But here's the thing. You can't do that here. You just can't do that here. People have already learned. And I think that it's going to backfire. This is not Oklahoma. And if the Republicans in Minnesota want to latch onto that issue, it's a losing issue, you know. But I think we still need to worry because it gives people permission to hate people. And that doesn't happen in a state law. That happens in, school board meetings and in city councils and other organizations where, you don't have the media kind of covering what's going on. I mean, that kind of hate permeates. And that's what's really hurtful about this stuff.
It's, the Republicans don't realize the people that are pushing it most, the Republicans that are pushing that most are reading their own press releases and are in districts where they are not really in no jeopardy. But it's dooming the Republicans statewide because you can't win the state without the suburbs, and the suburbs are not on the side of hate nearly as much as they think they are.
Yeah, it is. The last redistricting was a fair redistricting, and it's made having a Republican majority a tougher thing.
Yeah. We going back to the amendment vote. What I remember, another thing I remember from 2012 was, because we had our sign stolen. It was clear that the anti-gay people, the anti-gay marriage people, knew things weren't going their way. Because do you remember we used to have stories of all of a sudden blocks of neighborhoods losing all their signs in one night, and we'd find them out behind some like a dumpster in Anoka, and it was they were finding them like that. It kind of became clear as we got to that vote that Minnesota was rejecting this idea, and it was not going well for them.
It was, I would say, up until election night, it was a nail biter. I don't think anybody who was working the phone said we're definitely going to win, but they had an inkling. I mean, they were talking to people. I mean, that's what a lot of the movie shows, is just that the way they won this thing is they went out and they made phone calls. And it wasn't like the 2-minute phone call you get, talking points, trying to convince you. It was, let's have a deep conversation. Let me call you back next week. Let me talk to you about this. And it was a one-on-one conversations. These type of things, just thousands and thousands and thousands of them turn the tide. And I think that's hard to measure until you get to election day.
I actually think the stealing of the signs actually hurt them dramatically too. A lot of people were not on board with that. Mike McAdee, of course, joining us here. We, of course, go into 2013, and I remember when that happened. I remember when we passed it here in Minnesota, and it became the law. And I was glad that common sense kicked in there. And as you said, how love won. I mean, love won that day because it was kind of one of those things where we're not a state that wants to be one like Oklahoma. I mean, that doesn't relish in taking away people's rights and hurting other people for your own personal gain. We are a state that, is generally kind of a decent people. And even out in rural Minnesota, there's not a lot of people out there that are just driving and hoping that they can hurt their fellow Minnesotan. And I think that, it was a really remarkable moment when that did happen.
It was remarkable. I remember the day because I was out with my camera. It was very hot. Governor Dayton signed this thing, and it was like in the 90s. And I'm out sweating on the media platform with everybody else with our little camera shooting this thing, not quite knowing that we're going to make a documentary about this, by the way. We decided afterwards this would be a good documentary. And, there was so much joy that day. People celebrating in the streets, and, that weight was lifted. We did interviews afterwards that kind of make up most of this documentary. And what you find is, well, number one, people felt like doing this just validated them as a real person. Before that, they were treated as something else. Now it's like, I'm real, I'm whole. And, that's important these days. It really is. If that feeling of being othered is the worst thing. And when that change happened, people just celebrated like crazy.
How Love Won, the movie, has been very well received here, getting lots of accolades. We're 10 years later on here. You guys are going to have a special showing of the film, correct?
We are. A special showing, not just the film, but we've gathered some of the, I'll say the main components of what happened. Richard Karlbaum, who was the campaign manager for Minnesotans United for All Families, has graciously agreed to come down and be part of a panel along with Senator Scott Dibble, who was the author in the Senate of the marriage equality law. and Kat Rohn, who is who's executive director of Outfront Minnesota. We may have a couple other surprise guests as well, but we're going to chat after the movie about what happened, what has changed, and this new threat that has come up here against trans people, and how that's going to play out, and can the playbook that we saw in How Love Won be used again?
Well, it definitely here. I think the repercussions of that moment 10 years ago are still happening today because of the laws we just had passed. And I think that you see that Minnesota is still on this trajectory of acceptance and inclusion, and it's a good thing.
And I gotta include the important thing. It's a next week, Wednesday.
Yep.
7:00. It's at the what used to be the St. Anthony Main Theater is now the Main Theater, run by MSP Film Society. Tickets are on sale for $10 there, and we still got tickets left, so you can still get tickets.
All right, so June 7th, that's Wednesday, 7 p.m. the Main Theater, just over in St. Anthony, Maine. Get your tickets now. You can actually get a pair of tickets right now. Let's do caller number 5. Caller number 5 at 952-946-6205, 952-946-6205. Caller number 5. You're going to get a pair of tickets to go see the special 10-year anniversary viewing of How Love Won. That's going to be, once again, the Main Theater, June 7th, 7 p.m. Go and give us a call, 952-946-6205, 952-946-6205. Caller number 5 will win. Mike, great to see you, my friend.
Hey, good to be over here, and thanks for letting me out of the closet.
You bet. Mike McEntee, kind enough to join us. We'll take a break. Come on back. It's the Matt McNeil Show right here on AM 950.
Let's dance.
This is Ross Stadheim, partner at MJSP Employment Justice. When you've been wronged at work or something just doesn't feel right, it's hard to know what to do next. Our firm can help. We pride ourselves on communication and listening to our brave clients to obtain their own brand of justice. When you hire MJSP Employment Justice, you're not just a number. You're a valued client who will be represented by one of our experienced and accomplished partners every step of the way. That's our promise.
Be heard. You deserve better. Contact us today at mjsbjustice.com.
Hi, Matt McNeil for Rudy Luther Toyota. You've heard me talk about the Rudy Luther Buy program. Now hear from someone who's actually done it, me. Our kids' car, the 2006 Toyota Sienna, served us well for 17 years, but it was finally time to say goodbye. The We Buy program is really simple. I gave them some basic information. We set up an appointment, and after a quick verification, they gave me an estimate and a check, and they made me a generous offer. It was that fast. See for yourself. Try the Rudy Luther Toyota We Buy program at rudyluthertoyota.com.
Hi, this is Frank Brown, owner of Minuteman Press Uptown, Minnesota's only minority-owned union printing company. And I have big news. We've moved. Our new building in North Minneapolis is much larger with state-of-the-art equipment. That means we can get your projects done faster. We're on Washington Avenue North off I-94 at the Dowling exit, which allows for quick pickup and drop-off with plenty of free parking. And yes, we still print everything. I moved to MP Uptown because as a Black business owner, I want to be in North Minneapolis and help provide jobs. At MP Uptown, we pay above living wages, hire people who have made mistakes in the past, and believe in social justice. We have over 175 Google reviews with a 5-star rating. Let us handle your next print project because when you support our business, you support the community. Call 612-870-0777 or visit mpuptown.com. That's mpuptown.com. We print everything.
AM 950, the progressive voice of Minnesota. It's the Matt McNeil Show. Great to see Mike McEntee. Great to see him here. Do we have a winner of tickets there?
Yep, we're just taking down their information right now.
All right, we'll give you a name here before we're at the end of the show. So thank you very much for calling. Once again, go catch the How Love Won. That's June 7th, 7 p.m., the Main Theater over in St. Anthony, Maine. Get tickets now and go enjoy it. And it sounds like, once again, you're going to have a special panel there as well. So very much stopping by and seeing that is very much worthwhile on the 10th anniversary. And say hi to Mike when you get out there. A final thing I want to bring up today. I had a person post to me a story. Now, I want to make sure we understand. Republicans have painted themselves in a bit of a corner. They claim to be very good Christians. The reality is they embrace a lot of things that are not very Christian. Now, and I'm going to take a step. Once again, just religious disclaimer. You do or don't do whatever it is you do or don't want to do. I am a former Catholic, still Christian. I still go to church on a fairly regular basis. That's just the way I roll. Now, That being said, if you are a Christian, you believe Jesus Christ was Son of God, and you follow Jesus Christ. Now, that's an important thing. The reason I'm mentioning that is that's a very important thing. The new thing, and this is, I'm not even going to mention the name. I'm not going to post the story. I'm just going to read the headline for you, and you can, and I'll mention one or two things about the story here, but here's the headline. This is from a conservative who's trying to push the idea of cutting food stamps is what Jesus wants us to do. Some people deserve to starve, a biblical view of work and welfare. I want to repeat that because you probably just spewed coffee or water or whatever your beverage is all over your wherever you're at. Some people deserve to starve, a biblical view of work and welfare. Now, as you can expect, this individual goes on and he's got he brings out 2 Thessalonians. He brings up the quote in there about people needing to work, although he does leave out the context of that quote, which is talking about spreading the Christian message. That's the point there. It's not about going and working on a factory line back in good old Middle East back in the day. It wasn't, you weren't not working there. That was not the case. It was about basically being a good Christian and spreading the Christian word. That's what they were talking about. And that by basically doing so, that you are earning your keep by basically being a good Christian. That kind of is the context of it. He leaves a lot of that out. He also jumps back to Genesis. But do you know what he doesn't quote? Matthew, Mark, Luke, or John. The 4 books of the Bible that have to deal with Jesus and his story, which, funny story, it's pretty well documented. He wasn't pro-starvation. He was, as a matter of fact, Gospel of Matthew, feed the hungry. There is nothing else in that. Just feed the hungry if you're hungry. When he did the fishes and loaves, and everyone got a nice little meal there. Little fish, little food, little bread, off you go. He didn't look at someone and say, well, you've been working? Did you pull a shift? How many jobs did you apply for? He didn't do that. You need a pee in that cup before I give you a little bit of the magic loaves and fish. No, he didn't. He was very clear that he was anti-starvation. Once again, Jesus, not Genesis, not 2 Thessalonians, not Paul. Paul was a human being, not Jesus. Now, I will say, a lot of Republicans wish they could get Jesus out of the Bible and only worship Paul. And I'm dead serious about that, because that's where you get a lot of these more quotes that the Republicans love to hang their hat out of, Romans and other things. But the reality is if you're a Christian, Matthew, Mark, Luke, John, that's the story of Jesus. And Jesus did not want anyone to starve. The reason I am bringing this up is simple. I am tired of watching my religion, which is based on love, compassion, and caring, turned into a weapon. And if I see anyone putting out there saying, Jesus wants people to starve, not only are you a really horrible human being, you're also a horrible Christian, and you clearly have never read Matthew, Mark, Luke, or John. End of story. That endeth the lesson. Native Roots Radio up in the 6. We're back tomorrow. Till then, see ya.
Hey, it's Tom. Going solar is a great way to save on energy costs. By using the sun to power your house, you can feel good about an investment that will last for years. All Energy Solar is a locally trusted turnkey solar installer that's been around since 2009. They provide custom designs and quality installations of solar panel systems that work for your